When we first moved up north to the lakes region, I was genuinely concerned that the commute might be really annoying, because it was going to be well over an hour to get to work. Missing shifts trying to record and drive. But anyway, this is my commute right here. It's a part of it, one of the ways I can go. You know, I love the patriotism you see everywhere. You know, people just have the flag painted places, and on the side of their barns, you see Gadsden flags flying. I just genuinely love this state. If you are a freedom-minded person, we need you up here. You know, there's so many people complaining about all of the tyranny in the other New England states, you know, including at this point even Maine and Vermont. I've gotten pretty ridiculous. And yet, I mean, like, here we are. This is New Hampshire. You can move up here. There's, you know, I mean, if you're in a position to buy a house, that's even way better. We're just renting. Yeah, it's really is God's country. It's beautiful. I've always liked New Hampshire a lot. Just even on the, you know, a part of the reason for that obviously is because it's so similar to Slovakia. You know, the mountains and, you know, a little bit of farmland here and there, a little bit of flat areas, but mostly just everywhere you look there's mountains. And that's kind of how I grew up in Eastern Europe. You know, that's what Slovakia looks like. I just drove past some beehives. Yeah, you look at these beautiful farms up here. All these very off the beaten path sort of roads, where it genuinely does look like it's, you know, it almost looks like it's the 19th century. And I love it. Again, I don't need to live in a place where everybody agrees with my politics and some kind of a monoculture. But I certainly don't want to be around people who think that patriotism is toxic and, you know, the American flag is somehow a bad thing. You know, that's insanity. That's not normal. You know, there's still, you know, a chunk of people who are still hard left, which is sad in some cases because they're digging their own graves. There's a farm in Fremont where they used to have one of those Climate Action Now signs, and I used to just shake my head every time I drove by because I'm thinking, you operate a farm. Do you understand they're coming after you? They're coming after small farms. They're trying to destroy you, and the agenda is such that the government regulations will just make it so that only gigantic corporate farms will survive, and all these little farms will go out of business. And it's by design. It's not accidental. It's not stupidity. Anyway, genuinely didn't mean this to be a rant, but here we are. Yeah, all the tiger lilies are blooming currently. Yeah, check this out. This is, I believe, Gilmington, I think. Still learning these back roads and all the areas. I believe this is Gilmington, but anyway, could be Pittsfield maybe. But yeah, it's beautiful up here. If you are a normal human being who's perhaps libertarian, perhaps center to the right, you should move up here to New Hampshire. We need more reasonable people to hold down the fort. There's way too many idiots in New England who just keep voting for their own demise, really. You know, it's the same thing with the UK, it's the same thing with France. never ends. So I'm going to pull over. I keep meaning to read this little historical marker, and I never think to pull over. That's right. Wow. That's wild. Did not know that. That's pretty cool. So 107 is one of the oldest. This is 107, by the way. Is one of the oldest roads in New Hampshire. That is wild. Sorry about the wind. Just trying to get a good shot of the surrounding mountains. Yeah. Times. This is I believe this is Loon Lake coming up over here, or Loon Pond. Loon Pond, I believe. I could be wrong again. We've only been up here for a few weeks, and I was in Slovakia for the first couple of weeks after we moved in. We moved, and I immediately, Loon Pond. This is Loon Pond over here. Look at these houses in the surrounding hills. Beautiful homes. Genuinely gorgeous. Lakeview Farm. Cool is that? I love this state. I think it was a comedian that a few years ago said New Hampshire is the only state with a motto that sounds like a veiled threat, because our state motto is live free or die. It actually comes from General Stark. He wrote a letter to his wife essentially saying, something to that effect of, I shall either live free and we will conquer, we will win out against the British and push them back, across the ocean, or I'll die trying. And that's the attitude you have to have when you're fighting the greatest empire in the world. And you're just a bunch of farmers. God, I love this country. All right, happy 4th of July, everybody.